Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, social marketers around the world. My name's Associate Professor Joy Parkinson. I'm beaming into your office from Brisbane in Australia, where it's currently 5 a.m. It's my privilege and pleasure to introduce today's webinar as part of a series of webinars designed to advance social marketing, teaching, research, and practice. So we'll begin in a minute, but before we do, I'd like to share a little bit of information about the International Social Marketing Association, since we're welcoming both ISMA members and people who may be unaware of our professional association. ISMA is a federation of individuals and regional member associations. When you join the ISMA, you automatically become a member of your regional association as well. For example, I'm the Vice President of the Australian Association of Social Marketing. So you get the benefit of both the international-based resources and information relevant to your region as well. So together, we advance behaviour change for social good. Our members are change agents from across a range of sectors: behavioural scientists and researchers, psychologists, environmental educators, health communicators, academics, practitioners, I love to say pracademics as well, and students. So really anyone who's eager to learn new tools to change behaviour will benefit from becoming a member. So your membership includes access to resources such as online training, professional journals, conference discounts, and our archive of recorded webinars as well. And if you're not already a member, please visit the ISMA website to join. So you can also stay up to date with all the ISMA news on Facebook, Twitter, or on YouTube, where you'll find our webinar archive and where a recording of today's webinar will be posted soon. And ISMA is pleased to offer its first multi-language professional course. So the key concepts in social marketing course is now available in English, Spanish, and Italian, with 6 more language options available in the coming months. So we're really excited about those offerings. The course is a self-paced online course that you can take at your convenience. It's focused on the application of social marketing in a broad range of fields, including health, environment, social justice, and social development. And students who complete the course will receive a professional certificate of completion from the ISMA. And registration, of course, is available on the ISMA website. Then launching soon is Researching Your Audience. So this is a new self-paced course, and it's an introduction to social marketing research, designed to equip students with a sound understanding of the vital role that research plays in informing audience-led social marketing programs. And registration will open soon, and you can register your interest in the course on the ISMA website as well. And very excitingly, the African Social Marketing Association is planning their first conference, and a call for papers is now open for the April 2023 conference at the website that you can see here. And you can find all of that information both on the World Social Marketing Conference website and the ISMA website as well. So I'm here today with our webinar team, the co-moderator Catherine Sadler and our technical host Dave Cutter, who is the amazing person, they're both the amazing people behind the scenes keeping this show on the road. Catherine will manage any questions you may have for our speakers at the end of the presentation. And just a reminder that today's webinar is being recorded and it will be available as well. And as I said before, ISMA members do have access to the archive, which includes all of the previous webinar recordings. We have webinars throughout the years with a range of speakers and issues from around the world. So as I said before, we encourage you to follow us on LinkedIn, Twitter, or Facebook to stay updated on what's happening. So please don't wait until the end of the webinar to ask your questions. You can type those into the Q&A box as they come to mind along the way. So I'm just going to briefly introduce our speakers, and then I'll get them to each introduce themselves as well. So representing our senior social marketers, we have Livingston White from Jamaica and Lynda Bardfield from the US. Representing our emerging social marketers, we have Lina Khattab from York. We have Muniza Shaikh-Kamal from Dubai and Stelina Kanaki from York. And they will now introduce themselves. So I think we have Lina first up.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Joy, for inviting us again. It's great to be with you again after the conference. I'm Lina. I'm an assistant lecturer in Cairo University back in Egypt. I have more than 6 years of teaching experience. Now I'm doing my PhD in the University of York in the United Kingdom. My research is looking at water conservation, and I'm trying to provide implications for social marketing interventions to promote water efficiency on a household downstream level. Thank you.
Thanks, Lina. Livingston.
Thank you, Joy. Good day, everyone. So I've been teaching at the Caribbean School of Media and Communication over the past 21 years. And in addition to that, I've consulted on many projects, ranging from environment, crisis communication, conservation biology. Right now, I'm working on projects related to human rights and transportation behavior. And I love teaching social marketing.
Lynda. Lynda, we can't hear you if you're speaking.
Boy, that was a great start, wasn't it? Sorry about that, everyone. I think in pictures as well as words, so my slide is pictures. I self-identify as a bit of an aging hippie, so that already tells you how long I've been around. I left the country right out of college and joined the Peace Corps, trying to save the world, went to Brazil, and ended up in the music business. What you see is my first recording here with Stevie Wonder. That was his first visit to Brazil. From there, I went into television and radio, and finally ended up in the advertising business, commercial marketing advertising business. And once I got tired of selling soap all over the world and selling milk in Asia, I crossed over to social marketing. What you see at the bottom is one of the first textbooks written by Richard K. Manoff, who actually invited me to cross over into social marketing. And I don't know if you can read, it says, I believe it says 1985. So I've been doing this for a while. My very first consultancy was in Tunisia, and I have worked in over 40 countries. Happy to be here today.
Thanks so much, Lynda. And then we have Muniza.
Hi, I'm Muniza. I'm a business graduate and an experienced commercial marketing consultant, currently transitioning across from commercial to social marketing. And right now I'm studying a master's in public health and behavior change, which is kind of like the last step before I cross over to the other side. And I'm keen to engage my cultural insights and experience to help vulnerable and underserved populations, like, for example, vulnerable road users, such as delivery riders in the Middle East, or women of colour who suffer poor maternal outcomes in the UK. I'm keen to do good, and I'm looking forward to this session.
Thanks so much for joining us again. And Stelina.
Hello. Thank you, Joy, for inviting me again. So I'm a chartered psychologist in Greece and in the UK. So even though I wouldn't consider myself a social marketer, but I would consider myself a behavior changer as a psychologist mostly. But my interaction with the community through the Social Marketing Association helped me build this relationship, and I'm very happy for that.
Thank you. Thanks so much for sharing a little bit of your backgrounds. You can see that we've got a really diverse panel today, where we have a range of experience, which makes it a really interesting panel. So Lynda, to kick us off, I want to know what was your biggest challenge when you were starting out?
Oh, it's hard to remember so many years ago. But I would say, since Joy, when I was starting out, it meant crossing over from the private sector advertising world to social marketing, and basically moving from New York City to Washington, D.C. There was quite a lot of culture shock. So really my challenges included reinventing myself, adjusting to new surroundings, new partners, a whole new set of acronyms. So for example, P&G in the marketing world, private sector, was Procter & Gamble. As soon as I entered social marketing, P&G was Papua New Guinea, different P&G. Also, I was unaware that I would have to do so much stigma reduction. I encountered quite a lot of stigma using the word marketing. That was certainly an eye-opener. And finally, there was quite a lot of awareness raising that had to be done. And to this day, in all of my work, educating clients and partners in terms of some of the tools of the private sector and commercial marketing world, and in fact, what a creative director does, there's been quite a lot of education. So all those challenges and more, but I will say that it was well worth it.
Wow, thank you. I think that's a really interesting point that you raise about the use of acronyms and having to learn a whole new set of acronyms. And I think as social marketers, we work across so many disciplines that sometimes you are flipping between acronyms. And as you say, in one sector, it means one thing, and in another, it means something completely different. So it's, you know, making sure that you have a good understanding of, or you're using the right acronym in the right place. And that stigma is a really interesting point as well with marketing. And I think that continues to be an ongoing challenge. And even I saw somebody at the World Obesity Conference just last week talking about how terrible social marketing was, but what they were actually talking about was social media marketing. So I think sometimes it is very difficult. Livingston, what about you? What was your biggest challenge when you were starting out?
Well, you know, I'm from a communication background. So one of the very first projects I worked on was a national environmental exhibition, and it was communication for development, and that was the approach being used. So special event planning, publicity, public awareness, and campaigning. And that challenge for me was to recognize that what you're doing could have been better called social marketing, and perhaps if you had access to social marketing tools, you would have been able to do a better job. Like Lynda, I've had to be doing some convincing and promotion of the area, promoting social marketing. And to this day, I still have students who come to my class expecting to learn about social media. And I have to tell them, no, this is a social marketing class. We're looking at ways to improve lives. And we're not just going to be using Twitter and Facebook in this class. or any other social media platform. So for me, the tension has been to be able to promote the social marketing discipline and also to be able to shift and know my sector that I'm working with and which client would be open to the idea of a social marketing approach. Because there are times when you're not able to say that out openly. You know, it carries negative connotations. And so you'll go back to, okay, I'm doing social behavior change, or I'm doing development communication. Or you might say, okay, today I can say we're doing social marketing. I've done a lot of evaluation work as well. And the challenge there with social marketing is to be able to identify the appropriate indicators, you know, that would recognize behavior change and to be in it for the long term, you know, to be setting up those evaluation designs that can track change over time.
Yeah, thank you. I think that, yeah, those challenges certainly haven't changed, have they? Or they may have morphed, I think. But there's definitely been those challenges around social marketing for a very long time, and what the understanding of social marketing actually is and what we can do. So now throwing to Lina, so starting to get some insights from our emerging social marketers. Do you have a question that you've always wanted to ask a more seasoned social marketer?
Yes, actually, I always wonder how and where to start. I know Livingston and Lynda mentioned briefly some of their early experiences, but if you could kindly share with us some insights from your very early, this first consulting position you got, the first social marketing project. How did you get there? And for me, I need advice on how to approach the industry and practitioners and how to build the confidence to actually do this. So if you can share with us some of your experience in this regards, this would be highly appreciated. Thank you.
Lynda, would you like to kick us off, and then we will throw to Livingston?
Sorry, I had to find my unmute. That's kind of a hard question, Lina, because I think it's different from everyone, for everyone. I think first it's a question of knowing what's in demand. So as an example, you speak Arabic. That's your primary language. You have a PhD, or you will soon. That means people are probably going to look to you for research. If I were you, I would look at what kind of donors are investing in projects in Arabic-speaking countries, as an example. And so I think it's important kind of to do an environmental scan and find out what is in demand and kind of match your skill set up with the demand. You know, and I think one of the most important things along the way, at the beginning and along the way, is to do exactly what all of you young folks are doing, and that is to friend people, to connect with others, to build a social network. I mean, back in the old days, we didn't have social media to connect to others. It was just old-fashioned in-person connection, or even old-fashioned telephone connection. But today, I think it's easier than ever. So get out there and network, meet a lot of people, and needless to say, be confident in who you are and what you have to offer. You know, just go get them.
Thank you.
That's excellent advice, Lynda. And if I might add, you need to decide, Lina, if you're going to be a specialist or a generalist. And so you mentioned in your PhD research that you're doing something related to water-related behaviors. You may want to then build a career on, you're going to be the expert on water behaviors the world over, and you're going to do all the research related to this area, and you'll be the person that we all go to understand water behaviors. Or you could then come away and become a generalist where you can support any sort of social issue, because you're coming at it with your research, your evaluation, you're able to apply the tools regardless of the issue. And I think I may have started out in the environment, but then I worked in several other areas, and most of the time it's evaluation research that I'm doing, okay? Surveys, focus group, message testing, and so on. And I'm able to move from sector to sector, and then your name gets around because people recommend you. We're looking for somebody to evaluate this campaign. We're looking for somebody to do baseline research. And so there's a networking that goes on. But you can decide if you want to remain the specialist or the generalist. Either way, I'm sure you'll always be called upon to do work.
Excellent, thank you. It's so lovely to listen to the experience of our more seasoned social marketers. I know that our emerging social marketers really value that insight, and I'm sure that all of our listeners today really value that as well. So I'm just going to change it up a little bit here. Stelina, is there something that you think the early social marketers should have done differently?
I wouldn't necessarily say differently, because in each chronological era, we have different tools, different needs, and different mindsets. But my focus is mostly on the evolution of social marketing and the need to expand the scope and the breadth of the field, engage in more challenging societal topics like peace, tolerance, discrimination, mental health, and to invite more communities in social marketing. But something that it would have helped happening in advance was the recognition in educational level, because now we are trying to find our way in academia and not to be confused as social media marketers. So I think this would have helped. But overall, we need to look at the future, and we need to build on what we already have. So, yes.
Thank you. Muniza, did you have anything you would like to add to those insights from Stelina?
I think that we need a stronger brand and presence, because as other panelists have mentioned, whenever you say social marketing to somebody, they either don't know what it is or they confuse it with social media marketing, and it really needs to have a stronger presence and a recognition. And personal level, like if I, when I was at university first time round, if I had known social marketing, if there was a strong presence, I would have entered the field straight away rather than going to the corporate side first and then coming over to social marketing. So I really think that we need to have a strong presence and a brand. We need to work together for that.
Excellent, thank you so much. So, Lynda, but just reflecting on all of these thoughts, what's one thing that you would say to new social marketers?
I would say be patient. I am not a very patient person, so I would say that to them. I would say that to myself, and I say it to myself all the time. Change doesn't happen overnight. A lot of what we work on, a lot of the big overarching issues, boy, that's going to require long-term change. But once again, the relationships with partners and with beneficiaries that you make along the way are priceless. So keep in mind, this is very Buddhist, I think, but it's not only, it's the journey. The journey is as important as the destination. So be patient, and it's even the downtimes, even the hard times, you learn from and you gain new relationships. That's what I would say.
Thank you. Be patient. Very wise words, I think. Livingston, what's one thing you would say to new and emerging social marketers?
Well, the big picture perspective, related to patience, you have to have that long-term commitment, because as Lynda reminded us, change takes time. So I would reinforce that idea to say that if you're going to be working at any social issue, any problem that you're trying to solve, be prepared to work at it for a period of time and recognize your successes along the way, the small successes, recognize the failures, but be able to see the big picture, to be able to see how your very small intervention in your part of the world is making a contribution to the bigger picture. So that long-term vision, time commitment is necessary to really survive in social marketing. You could give up very easily and become very frustrated if you're impatient and you want change tomorrow. You're going to have to be patient and be committed for the long term.
Thank you. I think that that being patient and being committed certainly is they're consistent themes, aren't they? So just moving forward, and I'm going to some of the questions that we have from the question and answer, or in the question and answer box. Thank you so much for popping those questions in there. Great, keep them coming in. You'll see that some of the questions I'll ask will cover some of your questions. So thank you so much. I know that I'm asking the right questions. So Stelina, do you see a change in the way we do social marketing as we move forward? So we know, one of our questions is, what are some of the emerging difficulties we're facing with social marketing in the wake of COVID-19? In the UK, at least, it feels like there's a huge disdain and switching off towards health messaging, for example. So I'd just like to hear your thoughts as an emerging social marketer. Do you see that there's some changes in the way we do things moving forward?
I will build on what Livingston said, and I totally agree. I think that we allow ourselves to fail more. We allow ourselves to build campaigns and develop interventions that may know in advance that they are not the most successful ones, but we need these campaigns and interventions in order to monitor, evaluate, and revisit what went well and what didn't go that well. Regarding COVID-19, I think we were a bit off guard. So when COVID-19 happened, we weren't prepared about practical things. So we didn't have the ability to act very efficiently. So what I want to say is that reading papers, I feel that the papers that coming now after 2021, they're more successful in a sense in terms of how they build their practices and their interventions, and how social marketing influenced all this COVID-19 perspective, practically or theoretically.
Yeah, thank you. And I think that really, echoes what Livingston was saying earlier as well, with, the importance of evaluation and reflection. And I think, you know, it is good to learn from whether they're mistakes or things that didn't necessarily work well, and make those changes moving forward. Don't keep doing the same thing. Muniza, did you have anything you would like to add to that around, you know, moving forward?
Actually, I had a question to ask about related to patience, because, you know, we can learn to be patient when we're, you know, working on these projects, but how do we convince funders to be patient as well? This is a question that popped into my head. Can you offer some advice for that?
Livingston or Lynda?
I would just say, work with them to develop interim measures, interim goals. So, you know, you might not see social change overnight, but you might be able to measure changes little by little, individual behavior changes, you know, so one step at a time. And as long as you can measure something and show some degree of success that you're moving the needle, I think that will make, that's what funders need to do. They need to show results. So,
Muniza, you're going to have to work on your negotiating skills to renegotiate those timelines. And there's something you learn: no cost extension. It will become your friend. Give us more time. We're not asking you to spend more money, but we need more time. So the renegotiation of the timelines. And of course, as Lynda said, if you can show that you're moving in the right direction, the donors are usually flexible enough to extend the project.
if I could go back to that question about COVID, Joy, I would just like to add, I don't think it was just COVID. I think it has been the advent of social media and so much consumer generated content that's out there that's not vetted, that I think has eroded the credibility of public health messaging, of all messaging. Because you're not quite sure the source of the information, you're not quite sure whether to trust them. And so COVID, I think we saw that, you know, big time. It was kind of like the climax of that social media, and, you know, everyone had an opinion, and yeah, so I think that did erode our credibility to a certain extent. But it also taught us how to interact on Zoom. So, I mean, I worked internationally, virtually. It was crazy doing evaluations of global projects virtually, crazy stuff. But I think, you know, so on the one hand, it was a wonderful challenge for us to expand. On the other hand, it did kind of erode that credibility.
Yeah, thank you. I think, as you say, COVID is just a line in the sand, I guess. It's just a point in time where all of these things really have reached a peak, and they've become, you know, business as usual. We used to always talk about, you know, older people not being tech savvy and not being able to use these technologies, so we avoided them. But we've really seen in this last 2.5 years that that's just totally untrue. They're actually really adaptable, and they can adopt these new technologies and use them sometimes better than, you know, younger people as well. So just building on that, with all the advances in technology, are we actually doing better social marketing now? So do things like AI help us or hinder us as social marketing? So Stelina, I'd like to seek your thoughts on this one first.
If we're doing better social marketing, well, it facilitates the procedure. I think this is a fact. And to be honest, the fact that we are sometimes confused with social media marketing is not that bad, in the sense that we relate to social media in how we are out there. But at the same time, I think that social media sometimes take a lot of the attention that we need for the behavioral aspect. So social media is only the mean, but we have a behavioral aspect that it's not out there. And I think that social media may be responsible for that, so they can facilitate, and at the same time, they can hinder the procedures.
Thank you. Yeah, really interesting insights there. Now, Lynda, just building on that, I'm going to go to one of our audience questions that is specifically for you. Having worked for so long in social marketing, how have you found changing technologies impacting the ways in which you deliver behaviour change? And do you see social media as a useful tool or a source of misinformation you have to fight against?
Both. So the pros of technology are we're able to segment our target audiences more effectively. We're able to identify them, locate them, reach out to them much more effectively than ever before. So more effective segmentation and targeting for sure. The cons, more competition for people's attention. Cons of social media, I should say, more competition for people's eyeballs. There's just so much out there, you know, so much out there. Message burnout. And once again, that eroding credibility, I would say, is the other downside. But in terms of AI, not worried. I'm not worried because AI doesn't have a heart and never will. AI will never replace us.
Thank you. I think, yeah, really, yeah, valuable insight there, because we know at the World Social Marketing Conference, for example, there was a lot of discussion around AI and its use, but I think you're right. It doesn't have a heart, and no matter what, we always need, you know, real people and that real contact. It's so important for, you know, the human species. So, Lina, I'm just wondering what your thoughts are on how is social marketing tackling the big issues? You know, things like poverty, inequity, climate change. Are we doing it right, or are there things that we should be doing differently?
Speaking of patience, I think social marketing is doing a great job, patiently, one step at a time. If there is anything we need to do differently to have more impact, to solve these big problems, I think it would be more focus on the upstream social marketing. We are doing a great job in the downstream and behavior change level, but when it comes to the upstream social marketing and working with policymakers and changing policies, this area is where much work is needed, I think. And you were just mentioning COVID and how things happened during COVID. The best thing that led to broader behavior change and actually people complying to whatever restrictions were there is because there were laws enforcing this kind of things. So I think if we need broader scale behavior change, there should be support from the upstream level. Policies should be very supportive. Laws need to be changed. If there's a keyword here I'm looking for, maybe partnerships as well with governments, with big corporations who are contributing to these big problems and who can actually have a big impact as well in solving these problems. So partnerships, like Lynda was saying, it's all about networks and building relationships. So yeah, if there's anything we can do differently, it's this, focusing on upstream, building partnerships, policymakers, and changing regulations. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Lina. Yeah, really valuable insights. But you know, you've really touched on taking that systems approach rather than just relying on individuals to make behaviour change, but we need other levers and mechanisms that actually support that behaviour change. And of course, that changes for different types of behaviours as well. For some things, you know, law isn't appropriate, but for many things, as we've seen over the years, it really does help to reinforce some of those behaviours. So just building on that, Livingston, do you think that we're making any inroads on equity and developing equitable solutions for people and the planet?
So this question is really a question of evaluation, right? Are we really able to evaluate and document our successes? And so I would say, let us do more of that to be able to answer this question. I think the way the field is growing, we're getting to that stage. We need more meta-syntheses, meta-analyses, you know, meta-studies to be able to track the change over time. Longitudinal studies, really. And so as social marketers, as researchers, we need to start doing our research in a way that it's replicable, identifying standardized indicators that we will operationalize. How do we know success when we see it, so that we can track it over time and then report on it and be able to answer the question you just posed, Joy.
Thank you. And sorry if it's a little noisy on my end at the moment. So just building on that, and I am going to ask some of our emerging social marketers first, and then go to our more experienced social marketers. What's missing from our practice or scholarship? So we've talked a lot about evaluation and the need for evaluation and longitudinal studies, which is so important so that we can track those outcomes and impact over time, so we can demonstrate to funders how things are working, and we can build sustainability into our programs as well. So Stelina, I'm just really interested in your thoughts on what's missing from our practice or scholarship in social marketing.
Yes, this is a very good question, because it is a matter of evaluation. I think that there is, at least in the research, there is a lack of research on indicators of successful and not that successful practices. Since we are moving to this more flexible field, and we are allowed to make mistakes and fail, we need to have some benchmarkers and indicators to make this evaluation properly. So I would say this is one thing that is missing. And also, I came across a campaign that it's not a very new one. It is called, I think it's called Before I Die campaign. I know that it's not a very optimistic title, but it's, I love this campaign because it incorporates art, and it is mainly individual-led campaign. And I think that this is something that it's missing. And based on what Lynda discussed of how she started in social marketing, I think that the art and bringing people together and make them a part of what we do would help.
Thank you. Yes, I think that involving people, you know, is really, really important, of course, and a key tenet of social marketing practice. I like that you referred back to art, and of course, you know, Lynda definitely brings the art into social marketing, for example. And often I ask myself, you know, is social marketing, you know, art, or is it science, or is it magic, or is it a little bit of all of these things? Muniza, do you have any thoughts on what's missing from our practice or scholarship in social marketing?
I think that, you know, more creativity and diversity is missing, but it's actually also coming to us, because recently I was at the World Social Marketing Conference and I met people from so many different diverse cultures and backgrounds, and I felt that it's getting more and more diverse. So I think it's something that we could do with more of. And I think that we're moving in that direction. We're having more diversity and creativity in the field. And it was missing, but now it's, you know, growing, I think. But I don't really have that much experience because I haven't started social marketing yet, but this is an observation that, you know, these things are growing and they will help us.
Thank you. I think that that's a really heartwarming observation, that we are starting to be more inclusive and that there is more diversity as well in what we're doing. Livingston, what, from your perspective, what do you see as missing from our practice or our scholarship?
Well, you know, for me, I think we need to offer more opportunities to document the work that we do. I'm aware of two major social marketing journals, you know, the Social Marketing Quarterly and the Journal of Social Marketing. And many of our practitioners, academics, they publish in other areas, public health, health communication, and business, and so on, corporate social responsibility. I think the need to document what we're doing is going to be very important. And in a sense, answering the question on international projects, do you find that wildly different approaches are required in different regions? Again, in order to be able to answer that question, you know, we're talking about the comparative analysis, you know, are the same strategies working in different areas? These are some questions that we can be answering, and I think that's what we could contribute further to the field. So document and share, documenting and sharing our experiences.
Yeah, excellent. I think that's so true. And I know that there's a lot of great work that happens around the world, which might not come out of, you know, some of the most prestigious universities, for example. So often those case studies don't get published, so we don't necessarily see them. And then, of course, there are other case studies that get published in different disciplines or journals from different disciplines. So from, you know, as social marketers, we don't always see those. But our Journal of Social Marketing and Social Marketing Quarterly are excellent journals. And particularly Social Marketing Quarterly does tend to publish more practitioner-focused case studies. So if you're a practitioner listening, please do submit to both of those journals. I'm also the editor-in-chief of Health Marketing Quarterly, which we do publish social marketing case studies as well. And we're particularly looking for health case studies, you know, using social marketing from, you know, across the globe. And that's a real focus of ours over the next couple of years as well. Lynda, would you like to share your thoughts on what might be missing from the field in both practice and or scholarship for social marketing?
Yes, absolutely, Joy. As Muniza and everybody has mentioned, the creativity part, of course, is something I've been fighting for 20 plus years. And I teach social marketing now at the graduate school level, and I have been teaching social marketing for 15 plus years. I started teaching because I realized that there were no academic opportunities for creative professionals. there still are not. Once again, I believe that I learned about social marketing purely because it was my destiny, if you will, not to get terribly unscientific, but we need to have more academic opportunities specifically for creative professionals. So whether that's required social marketing courses in art school, film school, creative writing school, film, creative professionals tend to be fairly idealistic and would love to do anything to change the world. Anytime I've ever tried to engage creative partners, even pro bono, even to work for free to contribute their talents, they've been happy to. So it's part of their nature. So yes, we need more academic opportunities to create more creative change agents. And I think that will result in having more creative professionals around the table working with us who understand behavioral science as well as art.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that integration between art and behavioral science is really important. And, with all of the work that we do as social marketers, there is a fair element of creativity, whether that's being creative in the campaigns or programs we come up with, or creative ways of using our funding to stretch it further, because we know we're often doing things on a shoestring budget. So it's being very creative in how we actually use that funding to get the biggest bang for our buck, to use an Australian colloquialism. But thank you, that's fantastic. As we now move into the last few minutes of the webinar, I have just two more questions that I am going to throw to our panel. The first one is, and I'm going to ask one emerging social marketer and one experienced social marketer this question. Stelina, I want to start with you, and then I'm going to go to Livingston. How is the future of social marketing looking from your perspective?
I guess the short answer is bright, but there is a long answer as well. And the long answer is that we're moving and we're approaching to a different way of thinking. We're coming to the realization that the initial problems that are now syndemics, most of them, are still problems. And we still need to invest on them, but it's time to move forward to recent challenges. So this will force us to a new way of thinking, to new methodologies, to new approaches, and we will be forced to be creative and engage with art, which I think it was great that we mentioned it in this webinar.
Livingston?
I think, the future is bright. I do agree with Stelina. When I started out, we didn't have all these professional associations. I'm happy that we have regional associations, international conferences and events that we can attend, journals in which we can publish our research. So, they offer these events and journals, these publication opportunities. They offer, networking solutions for us. And, I remember at the last World Social Marketing Conference in Brighton, many persons referenced, this idea of finding their tribe. So the tribe is shaping up nicely. And I think the tribe is now ready to continue working together to tackle the world's problems. So it's looking great.
Thank you. Thank you both. I agree. And that really shone out at the World Social Marketing Conference, that the future is looking bright, and we have a wonderful tribe. And for me, that was one of you know, the really nice takeaways from the conference was many people mentioning that they had really found their tribe. And I know that we had been, you know, not networking face to face for, you know, 3 years really. So it was really nice for everybody to get back together. And I think that sharing insights and having that shared vision was really important as well, and just that regrouping. Now, moving into our final question as we go into our last 5 minutes, Lina, I'm going to start with you, and then I'm going to go to you, Muniza. What is one thing you'd like to say to anyone who's thinking about getting into social marketing?
Go for it. just do it. The thing is, I think, like we all said, we need rebranding. We need to do something to attract more people to social marketing, and do something about this misunderstanding of what social marketing is, because we are missing a lot of opportunities, a lot of great minds who could have joined if they just know what it is. So I think, yeah, just if you know what social marketing is and you are interested, yeah, go for it. There's a range of disciplines and behaviors and everything. You'll find anything you want. Yeah, and you will do the bigger social good in the end. So it's very fulfilling as well.
Thank you. What very wise words there. Muniza?
Yeah, I'd just like to offer some practical advice, and that is, as mentioned earlier, join your regional association, and therefore you'll also become a member of ISMA. Make full use of the resources available. There are so many webinars and access to journals and online learning that you can engage in, and, you know, grow your knowledge and love for social marketing. And also, I would advise you to try and find a mentor, because I was lucky enough to find Lynda as my mentor through the Samana mentorship program. But if you can't find one through a structured program, find one informally. You know, if you can link with someone online, or you know, through LinkedIn or social media, find somebody to guide you and to talk with about, you know, your ideas and your questions and all your concerns that you have. That's my 2 pieces of advice.
Thank you. That's great advice. And if you're wondering where to look, you know, look to who's on the International Social Marketing Association board or your regional association board. And that's a great place to start, to at least start asking the questions about mentors. Stelina, what is one thing you'd like to say to anyone thinking about getting into social marketing?
I would refer to what Lina said, which is excellent. She said that if you know what social marketing is, go for it. I would say that even if you don't know what social marketing is, just try to learn what social marketing is, and you will find great opportunities there. And also, a piece of advice that I've been given when I started my PhD was that even if you are not into social marketing per se, if you are into social good, that will do as well.
Thank you. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, if you're just into social good, that will do. I love it. Livingston, what's one thing you'd like to say to anyone thinking about getting into social marketing?
I would say, you know, social marketing is multidisciplinary, and regardless of where you are in your career, you can make the switch over. Don't get so caught up about this time distinction of veterans and young people and old people. We're all here to work together to solve the world's problems. So you can join this discipline at any time and be willing to make that change from your other career and start doing social marketing.
Thank you. And Lynda?
After so many good things, wise things, I have very little to add except to tell you, if you're interested in getting into social marketing, we thank you and we need you. the more people that think differently, the better. Can never have too many partners to tackle these large issues, large global issues. So welcome to the tribe.
Well, thank you. What an amazing panel session. I thoroughly enjoyed getting to facilitate this again, and asking such a wonderful group of social marketers who just happen to be at different points on the experience continuum. But I'm sure that everybody who has listened in and who will listen to the recording also agree, amazing insights on, where we've come from and where we're going to as well. My key insights, and I encourage anybody who's listening, if you'd like to type in your key insights into the Q&A, I always love to see what your key takeaways are. For me, it was really around, thinking differently, being creative and coming up with creative solutions, evaluating what we do over time. So not just a set and forget, but evaluating and making sure that we embed evaluation into the whole initiative or program that we're running. Document everything and disseminate that as well. So make sure that you tell people about what worked and what didn't work as well, because there's always key insights there, and that we need to be patient. That sometimes it might take time to get our funding through, or it might take time to see change happen as well. So really key insight there is about being patient. But with that, I'm going to hand over to Catherine. I think we've probably covered most of our questions along the way, but I'll hand over to Catherine to finish off. And thank you so very much for joining us today. And a huge thank you to the panel for your insights and for joining us early morning, middle of the day, and late at night. Thank you so very, very much. Thoroughly enjoyed it. And thank you so much for your valuable insights.
Right, and also for our participants and excellent questions today. As we wrap up today, we'd like your feedback. On screen are a couple of questions about the quality of today's webinar. We depend on your answers for developing future webinars, so please share your feedback. ISMA is pleased to offer the first of multi-language professional courses, as stated earlier. If you missed it or you need the information again, the Key Concepts in Social Marketing course is now available in English, Spanish, and Italian, with 6 more language options available in the coming months. This course is self-paced online course that you can take at your convenience. It focused on the application of social marketing in a broad range of fields, including health, environment, social justice, and social development. Students who complete the course receive a professional certificate of completion from ISMA. Registration is available on our website. Launching soon also is Researching Your Audience. This new self-paced course is an introduction to social marketing research designed to equip students with a sound understanding of the vital role that research plays in informing audience-led social marketing programmers. I think Livingston referred to the need to have data and to pursue things with research. Registration will be open soon. You can register your interest in the course now on ISMA's website. Once again, I thank our panelists for sharing your insights today and our members and participants in today's webinar. Thank you for your continued support and participation. We hope to see you all at future webinars. In the meantime, we encourage you to join ISMA and your regional associations. With your membership, you'll have access to our webinar archive and discounts on social marketing, professional development, resources, and more. This is the International Social Marketing Association. We now conclude today's webinar.